Timon de Boer had other feelings. He'd been in tough spots before. Teaching a tenderfoot the ins and outs of the coffee shop business would be challenging, especially considering that the boy hadn't grown up around the industry and couldn't speak the language. It would be dangerous. He would have to take great care in prepping the boy, no question about it. He'd give it his best shot though, and then it would be over. His debt with Josh van den Berg would be settled. Then he could focus on Lillian and getting her cured of this awful disease. Her treatment was to begin in 2 weeks, the doctors had finally said. Timon wondered if it would work. The old Don looked out over his property, saw the sun peeking over the eastern dike. A brilliant cast of orange and red glowed over the land. He thought about Rembrandt and Van Gogh, the famous Dutch painters, and how they must have settled in for hours stroking these hues. He'd once thought about taking up oil painting himself, but decided his niche was growing cannabis, which had made him a fortune. He went back over to the barn to fetch some wire and noticed that a chicken had just weaseled through a hole that he'd repaired a few days earlier. Pesky creatures, he thought. Well, the dog did need to be fed still. Barco! Pagtimorop! Barco heard his master's beautiful voice. When he heard fetch the chicken, he bolted off his haunches and ran toward the renegade poultry. The hen realized its mistake at once. Its pea brain told it to run like hell. At this point, Barco knew that hard dog food had been removed from the breakfast menu. No, this sunny morning he'd eat well. Like a spirited cheetah, he sprinted into the field and easily scooped up the fleeing animal. Chicken heard its neck crack like the tendrils of a small branch, and it was over. Timon mused, at least the hound can fend for itself. The Dutchman finished mending the coop, threw more corn down for the clutch, refilled the water tubs, then decided to take a break. When he was done with his fix, 2 hash joints and a cup of coffee, the old Don finished up his chores. Make sure to get some eggs, his wife had said before bed the previous evening. Put them over on the counter, his wife said when he came inside. I'll get to them in a minute. Lillian de Boer was nobody's friend until she had her coffee. The traditional Dutch wife, she did all the cooking and cleaning. Timon de Boer went right for his stash, pulled out a 20-gram block of Moroccan hashish and began rolling a fat joint. A few minutes later, Lillian poured boiling water over a fine mesh colander full of coffee grains. She rotated the brew from cup to cup, waiting for the dripping to cease. Timon said, "The coffee smells good. Dal Egberts, is it?" "Ja, je hebt gelijk," his wife replied. "I went to the market yesterday. Don't you remember?" "Natuurlijk, ik vergeet," Timon said, lighting up his joint. "I'm making pannenkoeken. Would you like strawberry or blueberry preserves?" "Strawberry sounds good." He loved when she made pancakes. The Dutchman took a long pull and filled the air with the bittersweet smell of Moroccan hashish. "Did you sleep well?" "Honestly, no, I didn't." Lillian turned away and put her head down. "I keep thinking about the American. It sounds dangerous, Timon." "I thought we talked about this, Lil." The old Don took another long draw and offered the stogie to his wife. Seconds later, he said, "We were in agreement." After taking a long pull from the hash, his wife said, I just don't have good feelings about this one." "It's something that must be done, Lil." Timon shuffled uneasily in his chair. "It's only for a short while. You know we're leaving for Switzerland soon." They sat in silence for a while, 2 quarrelsome spouses fiddling with their food. "By the way," Timon said, lighting his post-breakfast joint after both of them had come to their senses, "Josh thinks that Hannah should spend some time here at the farm until this thing blows over." "That'll be nice. I'll make the old room up for her." He says she's somewhat opposed to the idea. "It'll probably do her some good. Lillian said, and then asked, "How old is she now?" 27, I believe. Tima could tell that his wife was hearkening back to her youth. Lillian picked up the dirty plates from the table. "I'll see if I can talk some sense into the girl." Josie Dempsey slipped into the pink silk nightgown William had gotten her for Christmas. At 60, she was out of shape and plumb worn out from it all. Crazy what the body starts doing, she told herself. It's like when we're born, we're made of rubber, then we turn to glass when we grow up. But when you hit 60, it's more like fine china. A simple fall from tripping over your feet can cause a hip fracture. Josie Dempsey had heard the horror stories. Because she was a hypochondriac, she tended to believe them all. She was known for making up non-existent elements and home-brewed remedies. You're definitely not getting any younger, she thought sadly. She was alone. Her William had fled the nest. Oh, why can't you just go into a coma and wake up after he's returned? No, for some reason she had had a bad feeling that the nightmare had just begun. She could only hope that William would make it home in one piece and be the same sweet boy she'd raised. Then there was Jimmy. Was her eldest son really coming home? She had tried so hard not to get her hopes up after she heard the news. What would she say to him when he walked through the front door with that shit-eating grin on his face? She thought, I'll think of something.